Welcome. This is how to connect experience across commerce, marketing, and service using Salesforce Customer 360. And if we get the slides up on the screen. There we go. My name is James Ferguson. I'm on the product management team of Customer 360. And as this young face up here might say, I've been with Salesforce for a while, maybe younger face. I've been at Salesforce for about 10 years. I've been working on the platform, various parts of the platform, and for the last year and a half, 2 years, been on Customer 360, really looking to tie a lot of these things together. Forward-looking statement. The next 20 minutes are a forward-looking statement. This product, Customer 360, is not currently GA. We are aiming for the end of the year, but it is currently a pilot product, and so therefore falls under forward-looking statement guidelines. And finally, finally from an intro perspective, I'd like to thank you. Salesforce is what it is because of our customers, our partners, power users, admins, developers, the people here at Trailhead DX and people at other venues who really make Salesforce what it is. So thank you all for being here and supporting us and helping push us forward. Now, everybody here, I hope, are Salesforce people, either a customer or a partner or an employee like myself. And so we know the importance of gathering information around customers. We reach out to customers. We reach out via commerce. We reach out via marketing. We reach out via service, or maybe service people reach in to us, but we keep track of this information. And a lot of us, many of us have done a really good job of it, perhaps too good a job sometimes, because when we have one human being, Samantha Rodriguez here, we as a company think, well, no, this is actually 7 or 8 or 9 customers. There's guest orders in the commerce system. There's all of the different touch points that they may have reached us in the marketing area, different phone numbers they may have used to call us. And we don't treat them separate because we think they're a different person. And so what we need to do is take all of these disconnected customer records and really turn it into something that is more useful and more actionable. We need to know that all of these different things, all of these different email addresses and phone numbers and support cases are all represent one human being. Because ultimately it's the human being we want to be marketing to, the human being we want to be connecting to from a service perspective. And then once we have this unified profile, we can see all of the orders, not just the orders that are attached to a specific phone number, or all of the orders that are in one call center, or all of the cases in one call center and not the other. And so we need to pull all of this together. And let's take a look at what this might look like in this world. I'm going to go, and I didn't mean to do that. I meant to do this, and this is working. Okay, so we have our customer, Samantha, and I remember from the other slide that one of her email addresses was sam@milestone.com. So here I am in Service Cloud, in the Service Console, and I look for Sam, and I can't find her. Does that mean she's not our customer? Well, no, that just means she hasn't been entered in this system. She hasn't called this call center. It has nothing to do with the other systems that might be in play. But with Customer 360, we now have this notion of this customer profile. So let me look for her in the customerprofile.com. And we can see, lo and behold, she does exist within my company's customer base. And we can see we've got multiple email addresses, multiple phone numbers and addresses. So now that since she's calling Service Center, I can create a new account for her. So we can start tracking cases against her. And we can define how we populate these fields, but I'll just take the defaults, and we have this new person account, standard Service Cloud person account here. Now, I seem to remember when I looked at that list, there was a couple of email addresses, but I've only got one here, so I know there's more. And so the other things we provide as part of Customer 360 is a set of components. So why don't we look at customer profile, say, drag the customer profile. We can see it even populating in here. And now what we can do is augment the experience, the agent's experience, so it not only has the information in the person account itself, but also has access to all of the rest of what we know about Samantha, the other email addresses, because maybe they're useful, the other phone numbers, the other billing addresses. So we can start seeing this whole picture of her, even though she's never called this call center before, and we haven't had to ask her for all of this stuff again. It's all just there, right? And so this becomes the beginnings of the power of having this profile available to you. And that is really the heart of Customer 360, and there's three basic things I'm going to be talking to you about. One is the Salesforce information model, which is really a way of tying all of the disparate sources that you have in your enterprise, tying it together into a single common representation. I'm going to talk about the customer resolution, how we can pull all of those different pieces of information together to produce that unified profile, and then how we can use that to access all the rest of the data without copying it all into one place. So accesses the orders in the systems it live in, access the cases in the systems it lives in. So let's first talk about the Salesforce information model. One of the common problems when you start integrating systems is they have different names for things. They represent the same information in different ways. Super simple example of just, say, a first name attribute. Hard to get simpler than that. Yet different systems may have different flavors of this. It might be with capitals. It might be different names. And you need to be able to manage that. Now, that's easy when you've got two systems. You can just do a simple transformation, a simple mapping from one to another. Add a third system in. Now you've got to triangulate all of them. And you add a fourth and a fifth, and all of a sudden you end up with this spaghetti mess of things, which not only is hard to build, but imagine changing one of these things now. If you change one of these things, you now have to go and touch everything pretty much. And we know how much of a challenge that can be. What we provide with the Salesforce information model is something that takes the 20-plus years of Salesforce as a company's experience around CRM, the untold decades or probably centuries of combined experience of the employees and the partners and our customers in CRM to produce this common model which every system can map to once. So now adding a system is simply a matter of mapping that information to the Salesforce information model, and you know it can then be transferred out into all of the different points. And so this becomes central and the first step of how we put together our unified profile. So let's take a look. Unified profile, we've got now Customer 360 set up with a set of data sources. The first thing we need to do is map that data into that common Salesforce information model. Some things are very simple, first name to first name. Other things, in the case of account, it's a very flat structure with addresses and phone numbers all built into the same object. In the Salesforce information model, with this screen you can't see, we break out phone contact points and email contact points. And so we need to handle this mapping, and we've got a tool that lets you handle that to get all of your data. So when you're tying, in this case, it's a Service Cloud org, you're tying it into the Customer 360 first by making the shape the same. The next step is we need to start cleaning this. We need to prepare this data. The data is generally all over the map. Address data can be very difficult. Different regional capabilities are needed. And so what Customer 360 provides is a set of rules, an ability to create different ways of cleaning this. Maybe it's normalizing addresses. Maybe it's just removing white spaces. It's some simple things, some more complex things. But what you end up with is now you've got the data in the right shape, and now you've got data clean and in a reasonable place, and you're ready to start determining which of these things belong together. Which of these emails are actually the same, represent the same human being? Which of these phone numbers represent the same human being? And we can define a set of rules to capture how we want to merge those records. So maybe it's name with exact email. So if the last name and the email are the same, we want to say those two are the same. We can create different rules defining different characteristics of that. And so now you've got the data in the same shape, and you've got it all clean, and we've determined which of these records we can merge. The last thing we need to do is now maybe we've got 12 records with a first name, but our customer profile is going to have one. We need to choose which one is that going to be. Which first name should we use? And there's a number of different models that we can put together by defining a set of what we call reconciliation rules. Maybe we take the most recent one, the one that was updated most recently. Maybe something like salutation, use the one that's most recent, most frequent, the one they use the most. And other times, there might be, you believe there's a system of truth in your environment that you want to believe more than anything else. So maybe it's a billing system. Maybe it's a loyalty management system, and it's going to be the source of truth for your reward score, regardless of what else is out there. And so now you can take all of that information and put it together and create that common profile. If we look at, if we come into our Customer 360, let's look again for Sam at MyStyle. So now this is sort of peering into the back end of this. You get very similar information up front, of course, because this is the same system it was queried. But in this case, I can drill in and get a bunch of information, such as our global party ID that we're assigning. We've got all these emails and phones. But more importantly, we can see that this was sourced from a set of guest orders, right? So now we had a person coming into the contact center who may not have called the contact center before, didn't even create accounts, but is clearly a good customer. And so now we can know, because we've pulled this together and we've recognized Samantha as a customer, we can treat her properly on the service side, even though she may have only sort of checked out as guests. Now, there's a bunch of, I walked through a bunch of the setup tools that we have. Of course, behind the scenes is where actually all the magic happens, right? So what we've been building out is this set of infrastructure for processing this data pipeline that we can prepare the data and resolve it and reconcile it. And all of that is then surfaced up through these simple tools. So at this point, we've focused on this profile, right? We've figured out how we can build this profile and how we can bring all that data together, clean it, reconcile it, match it, to create this profile. But we haven't really talked about sort of how we gather all this other information, right? Now, there are times when it makes sense to bring all the data into one place. When it comes to developing that master profile, that's a pretty good time to do it. But we don't want to have to bring every order in your enterprise and across all the systems into one place, and every support case and every marketing response. We need to be able to reach out to that and get at it where it is, whether it's in one system, whether it's in 5 systems. And that's what the next part of Customer 360 provides, is that means for doing it. So let me go this way again. Yes. OK, so let me fire up into setup. Sorry, just lost my track. Setup. So this is standard Service Cloud setup. We're leveraging, in this case, external data sources, part of Lightning Connect, in order to reach out from this Service Cloud org. But we're doing it a bit differently. Most Lightning Connect systems, you can connect to a single target. You connect to an org. You connect to a backend system. You connect to an OData data source. What we've developed within Customer 360 is what we've called the Data Federation Service, which lets us represent in one place. So from the Service Cloud, we're just reaching out to this one external system, but now we can federate data from the different systems, and we can see. This one surfaces, the Data Federation Services surfaces elements of that Salesforce information model. In this case, we're looking at sales orders, because we're going to collect sales orders from different commerce sites within our environment. And so since this is an external object, we can do standard external object things with it. We can, let's find sales order _ X. We can go, we can look at, pick some of these fields on here, and we can get one error, because I forgot this. We want to get the orders for a specific customer, and still getting an error. That's because I actually haven't missed a step. I haven't mapped a data source into this object. So let me go back to our data mapping, and I want to do sales order again, and I'm going to do one of our commerce instances, NTO commerce. I'm going to do order. And so we have something that's similar. I want to choose a few fields. I need to concentrate to make sure I get the right fields in here. They're in here somewhere. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now I'll get sales order ID, and I'll total amount, and website ID. And then on the commerce side, again, this is just we're doing one point to one point, and this will make this data available to everybody. We want external ID, party ID. Let's take a few more of these, and let's click in the right place, and site ID and status. And now it's a simple matter of, well, I want creation date to map into checkout date. External ID I'm going to use as the primary key here for sales order ID. I can map my global party ID, and so on and so forth. Just simple drag and drop capabilities. Let me make sure I got these all right. And so now all I've done is drag these lines out. Now what's actually generated a bunch of metadata behind the scenes. And so if I were to hit this query again, I will see data here, right? Yes, it worked. And so now this data, the Service Cloud org has reached out to Data Federation Service. It says, oh, I have metadata describing these mappings. I can use this to go out to the Commerce Cloud. And so now I have this into an external object and exposed into an external object. So now I can do other things that you can do with external objects. Let me just pull in here. I can, for example, let's go back and edit the page here. I can, let's add a new related list, a new tab in here, and let's call this federated orders, because these aren't just orders coming from local or aren't just coming from one system, but I can bring that in, and I can bring an order list into here. And I can see that Samantha has those 10, not unlike those source records that you saw in the C360 setup. So now we've got that. So now we can come back here. We can see once it's saved, it comes back through the magic of lightning. We still have our details. We still have our customer profile that has all of that information. But now we can bring back and show this list of orders that are in there. These orders are not copied into the Service Cloud org. These are not centrally stored someplace altogether. They are reached out and dynamically fetched as this screen renders, in fact. And another thing we can continue on, because this is external objects, we can do even more. Let's say I wanted to show a chart of this order data over time, so I could see how much this person, how much Samantha spends. Well, we've got these nice, I'll just drag it onto the top so it's nice and visible. I want to, I've built a report type, accounts with federated orders, and I can save this, and I can show this. Now, unfortunately, all my orders, or all Samantha's orders, were all on one day, so it doesn't produce a nice bar chart. But again, this is data that's coming not from the local Service Cloud instance. It's coming through this data federation service and represents data coming from multiple commerce sites, and as we integrate in with MuleSoft, it can be third-party order management systems to produce this page dynamically. So as a result, what we have is we sort of walked through a very high-level view of Customer 360. We've talked about how we can bring all of the Salesforce apps and third-party apps into a common view of the data using the Salesforce information model. We've looked at how we can use the Customer 360 setup tools in order to define how to generate these unified profiles of your customer. And then we've talked about how to leverage that unified profile in order to reach out and get data from where it lives into, whether it's your call center, into your marketing system, into any other system. And so you can do that. Now, that was, 20 minutes isn't enough to do this justice. There's a lot more information to be had. There's a booth downstairs in the campground You can visit Commerce, Service, and Marketing themselves have ties into this. Also, we've got newsletters and solution kits are available for different ways you can tie the systems together right now. And so with that, and 3 seconds left, I would like to say thank you very much for coming out. If you have any questions, I'll be here. And thanks. Enjoy the rest, what's left of Trailhead DX.